What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about brand. Now, if you're new to this channel, then welcome. But I've got some really exciting advice, and I'm not going to waste any more time because brand building is probably the most exciting thing of the 21st century. And I don't know about you guys, but I am stoked about all sorts of brands. Now, to begin with, I speak about this in a lot of my videos. If you're new to the channel, then you probably haven't heard, but why? Why should brand matter? And why should I even listen to this 22-year-old talking about brand, talking about branding and all of these random different things? What use of it is it to me, or how resourceful or useful is this information even? Well, I've been reading recently this book by Nassim Taleb. It's called Skin in the Game. And in the book, he basically talks about people that give anything, right? Education or any sort of information to others must have some sort of skin in the game. What does he mean by skin in the game? They should be doing it. So when I'm talking about brand and building a brand and what are the different types of brands and all of that, it's coming from a place where I have skin in the game. This YouTube channel is me trying to build my personal brand. And I'm currently working on another brand, which we're going to talk about in a second, which is also a part of brand. So that should answer your why to some extent. But even why build a brand? What is the importance or the significance of brand? Well, in the 21st century, having a brand is probably very crucial, but I think the brand word has been used a lot where it was already very much existing. It's nothing new. It's not like this whole, oh, having a personal brand is something big. It always existed. It's just that I feel like in a way now it's more accessible to anybody. Like anybody can have a brand. Like you can be like a small kid somewhere in some random part of like Pakistan, and you can have a brand where you're smiling and laughing around. If you know what I'm talking about, it's that young kid that went around his area and spoke to his friends and stuff. That was really cute and adorable. So that was his brand. So literally anybody can have a brand. And it's very important, even you don't have to show it out to the entire world. You can have a brand amongst your circle, which is who you are, what is true to you. Again, this is it gets built through the years. It's not something that just suddenly appears out of nowhere. You don't become a polite person just because you smile at one of your friends for one instance. There are multiple different instances and reasons that make you a humble person. So that should explain your why. It's a very important thing in today's day. Again, like I said, you don't have to put it out there in the world, but to some degree, to know who you are, even for yourself, to know what your brand is, what you stand for, is absolutely essential. So let's get into the details of the types of brand. So from my understanding, there are two types of brands. Okay. Now, the first one is a personal brand, which is what I was talking about with the kid and what I'm doing with YouTube over here and all of that. It is my brand. So it's about me. It's what's true to me. So that's pretty much what the essence of a personal brand is. Now, the most important thing when it comes to a personal brand is the importance of being true to yourself, which means being original and not faking things for the sake of views or for the sake of glamour and attention or looking cool in front of your friends. Absolutely essential to be true to yourself. Why? Well, because you think about it, if you're faking something, either you're going to feel a little bitter about yourself, or you're going to feel a little bit like, I don't know about ethics and all of that. I'm not going to go deep into all of that. But for me, at least, when I'm building my brand, and there have been instances where I've tried to be a person that is not true to me, and that didn't feel right. It just felt very uncomfortable. Again, that was part of me figuring out my brand. But once I realized that that's uncomfortable and that's not true to me, I had to come back and realize, like, okay, Dhruv, this is not you. Let's stick to being me. And that helps with longevity, because think about it. If you have to be somebody, you have to fake being somebody. The longer you do that, the more difficult it's going to get. And you're probably going to lose yourself in the process, which you're not going to like. You're going to end up becoming bitter and negative. And that was a road that I shortly went down, and I did not enjoy it. And I instantly, like even in life in general, right? Like when you're doing stuff that you don't enjoy, you're going to not be able to stick to it. So the best part, or the most important part of building a personal brand, is staying true to yourself for longevity. And also, you could do something where you build your personal brand for your audience. But in the sense that now I know that my brand is like humble, and it's like modest and hardworking and peaceful, grounded, all of that. Now, green is something that's closely associated with a lot of this with a lot of these qualities. And because, it's down to earth, it's like mellow, it's chill. But green is not something that necessarily resonates with me a lot. But at the end of the day, with my audience that I want to like attract these types of people who have the same qualities so that we can interact with each other and whatever, green is something that can get me to do that. Although it doesn't resonate a lot with me, that's probably one reason or one way that I can use green as a color for my audience. And there are several different ways. It can be the language that you use that could be for the audience that you're trying to attract that resonates with you. Again, it has to be a complete circle, because if you're just faking something, that's not going to last. So, form of art. Now, the other day when I was listening to this podcast by Naval Ravikant with, I think, Ranveer Alabadia, I'm not too sure. But in it, he mentions about his whole Twitter journey and how that started off and what did he start doing. And, he was an early investor in Twitter. So he would just randomly go out there and tweet things that he found interesting, or just random things, like absolutely random thoughts. And by doing so, he got a lot of criticism because people were like, dude, you're like an investor, you're an angel investor. Like, what are people going to think? And you're like just being so vague and random. Like, it's not like, it doesn't seem appropriate. And he said that an artist that creates art for others is probably not going to become that great of an artist. And you think about all the greatest artists in history, they created for themselves, which means they were staying true to themselves. They were not going outwardly and doing things to please others. So I feel like content especially is a form of art. So that's why for me, it's very important to stay true to myself. So you don't see a lot of fancy cuts in my video. You don't see quick transitions and text popping out and all of that. Although, yes, I do like aesthetics and all of that, and the beautiful, like the art, like the beauty side of it. It's not true to me. I don't want people that can't sit and watch a video for more than 10 to 15 minutes without like text and animations and stuff popping up in the face. Not because there's anything wrong with people that can't, but it's just that that's not true to me. I'm not that kind of a person, and I don't want to put that sort of portrayal out there in the world. So important to stay true to yourself, especially in the content domain of things, but even in general, like, you're the way you dress up, it's all a form of art. You need to be true to yourself. Now, the next type of brand that we've got is enterprise. Now, what is an enterprise brand? So I think the best way to put it is an enterprise brand, you basically think of a company. You think of a Nike, you think of an Apple. What makes a Nike? What is the brand of an Apple or anything of that sort? So the first thing that you sort of need to realize is an enterprise brand is bigger than you. It can have elements of you, and it can have a little bit of your personality in it, or maybe a lot more than little in some cases, like with Apple, for example, and Steve Jobs. But it's bigger than you. At the end of the day, what you're trying to do is bigger than you. Now, although, yes, it is bigger than you, and I said all of that, it's important to also have some elements of you in it, because again, that's again skin in the game. Like I mentioned, with why and having skin in the game. With me, when I'm building my business brand, I am putting elements of me in there because I know if that business fails, then those parts of me fail as a business. So that I have something that's actually emotionally or whatever linked to the business, that there is something that I will also lose if the business loses. Now, in terms of building a brand, like building something for your audience, like how does Nike scale at the growth and grow the way that it did and reach the number of people that it did? So the first thing is your demographic. So it's very important to understand who the audience is for your business. What is their age? What do they look like? What do they do on a daily basis? What clothes do they wear? Which area of the world do they live in? What sort of salary do they make? This is your demographic. And by figuring out your demographic, you could figure out your product. So basically, when I'm thinking about, yes, I want to serve like middle class or upper middle class people of India and Uber India, basically, tier 1, tier 2 cities, I'm thinking, okay, that is my audience. Now that sort of helps me. And I'm thinking about what do they do? Like, what do they do on a daily life? Yeah, they have a lot of work. They're stressed when they come home, and, they need some sort of relaxation in a form at their place so that their home is a peaceful place and not like the same as their work. So keeping that in mind, I'm able to develop my product, which is a painting company where I paint their homes with like murals and stuff and artwork so that they come to home and feel peace. So by knowing what they are, like their physical attributes and all materialistic things. Basically, you can somehow understand your demographic, and by understanding your demographic, you can understand what product you can create for them, basically the problems that you're solving for them. Now, once you identify a product, you get into your psychographic, which is the interesting part. Now, this part I didn't really know, because I thought like your product or your brand is supposed to be all about you, because I've read people like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, and these guys' products and brands are all about them. And that's what I thought until I actually learned what psychographic is. Now, psychographic is the mental side of things. What are they thinking? Like, what is their problem solution like? How do they function on a daily basis? How does the mind function? What emotional problems do they have? What frustrates them? What makes them feel at peace? What makes them feel angry? What makes them feel tired? So by doing that, you understand what emotional thoughts are going on in your audience's brain. Now, the best thing to do once you figure that out is build your brand around it. If I know that my audience is looking for a feel of like premium, they want to feel luxury, they want to feel like, they're above like their competitors or their circle, and they want to feel this sort of premium made, then I know that my brand might have or must have elements of premiumness in them. Although premium and like luxury and all of that is not necessarily very true to me, I can live like wearing the same t-shirt for a really long time, as long as it's washed, obviously. But those are things that are true to my target audience, and what's true to my target audience is true to my brand. So I can incorporate elements of that inside of my business. Sure, basically you build your brand around their personal problems. So that's what I mean by PP over here. It's not some other form of PP. I know. I tried. I hope you laughed a little bit. But that's what it is. You identify the problems, you identify their emotions, and you sort of satisfy or quench or attract them with your design, with your vocal, like how you communicate with your audience or your brand personality. And honestly, I've come to realize, when we were learning about this in class, we had a class about brand building by this person who's built a lot of brands for a lot of different companies and helped them bring their like audience to them and all of that. And he was sort of explaining, you build your brand around the psychographic of your audience. And then I was like, but wait, like, I've read about all these great leaders who have built brands around themselves. Like with Steve Jobs, it was innovation and minimalism. The audience didn't know that they needed innovation and minimalism, but he bought it out in them. And I asked him that, like, what about that? And then he was like, yeah, well, he didn't have an answer, to be honest. But then he was like, yeah, that might be true, but you're putting yourself at risk, because if it fails, then, you have sort of, you're arrogant and you fail yourself even. And that's when I found the book of like Skin in the Game by Nassim Taleb. And he speaks about the importance of having skin in the game, because only then you know the value of what it is to lose. Because a lot of people, like a lot of teachers, for example, they come and teach and they tell you to do this, this and that, but they're not actually doing it in real life. Especially in my college, it happens quite a bit when the teachers are telling you to do this, 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 but they're not actually implying whatever they're doing in the outside world. What merit does your teaching or your advice hold if you're not actually implementing any of it in the outside world? So having some elements of you, again, I'm not going to make my brand completely about my audience. I'm not going to make it completely about me, but I know there are certain characteristics that I like about me that I would like to be passed on to my business. Like it could be like hardworking, it could be like detail oriented, like perfectionism. I want that to be in my business. So why not have the best of both worlds? So that's what I've come to with this whole branding thing. Speaking from the point of view of everything that I'm implying in my business. When I say you, I don't mean you need to do this. I'm not trying to be so preachy or sound like, yeah, you go do this and it'll be good for you and stuff. It's just stuff that I'm doing. And like in all of my videos, I'm just trying to talk to my younger self. I'm sure an 18-year-old Dhruv would really love to hear or understand some of this stuff on a deeper level. And I hope this is finding an 18-year-old Dhruv somewhere and helping him out. That's what I mean when I say you. But anyways, in the next video, we're going to be talking about branding in specific, how to build a business brand. I know I just vaguely went into it. So there are certain things, right? Like the tonality of your brand, the like logo of your brand, the color palette, there's all of these different things. And I didn't go deep into that because that's another video on itself. But if you guys like this video, then go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. In my next video, I'm going to be talking about it in more detail. Again, all of this is stuff that I'm doing. It's not just stuff that I'm saying. It's actually stuff that I'm implying. And to be honest, I don't know if it'll work or not. So that's the beauty of it. But I'm going to do it, and I guess say it anyway. Hopefully it'll work. If not, then well, I'll come back to this video and I know what to do and what not to do too. So that's the end of this video, guys. I hope you guys like this new way of doing things. I am experimenting with it too, and I know this is probably a little bit rough, but well, first attempt, so I probably refine it as things progress. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed it, then go ahead and hit that like button. And if you want to share this with anybody that's building a brand or starting a business, then go ahead and do so. I'm sure it could help them, or maybe not. I guess we'll have to find out. But until next video, bye.